All right, and we're back, dedicating this to Abby with a special request from her fellow friends. There's sunshine in my soul today, more glorious and bright. Hey, there you guys go. You're welcome. They wanted me to sing that. I've already done it. It's already on the vlog. It's on the video. So we're going to go ahead and start with number one. So number one, so again, the formula is f of x is equal to absolute value of, it's just a. So a, not necessarily absolute value. And then sine of bx plus k. So that's for sine, for example. That's for sine. There we go. Not sin. Sine. That's right. We don't sin, we sine. So here we go. And so in this instance, if they don't give you an amplitude or the a value, it's just going to be 1, right? So because 1 times sine is just 1. So the amplitude is 1. The period, if they don't give you a b value, so if your b value is just equal to 1, that means that it is 2 pi divided by the absolute value of 1. That's the formula. So that formula for b, and so since there's nothing there, we'll just say b is 1. And so that means our period is just going to be 2 pi. And then the midline, we do have a midline. It's 2, right? Do you see right there? That's the midline. So go ahead, and so after you fill out the amp, the period, the midline, then you're going to go ahead and just graph this sucker. And so sine of x, so basically we want to use, you can use radians or degrees. So we always start off at 0. And then we go, okay, so that means the midline is plus 2, and now we're going to graph it. Cool. So now graphing it, let's see here. So first of all, regular sine, the parent function sine, starts off at 0, and then it goes 90 degrees, and then 180, and then it goes to 270, and then 360, right? Full circle, unit circle, 0 to 360. So regular sine, so let's say that this is a 1, and this is 2, and this is 3, 4, 5. And then this is zeros right there. And then this is -1, -2, -3. Cool. So what we're going to do is first we'll graph regular sine. We'll do it in a very light color. How about green? Should we make it lighter? Let's make it lighter. Neon green? Okay, so basically, regular sine, you start at 0. At 90 degrees, you hit 1, because sine of 90 is 1. Then at 180, you're back to 0. And then at 270, you're at -1. And then 360, you're back to 0. So that's just regular. That's just y equals sine of x. Now, to graph y equals sine of x plus 2, you're basically just going to go ahead and do that same thing. But you're going to shift it up 2. Ready? So it goes shifts up 1, and then shifts up 2. Nice. So now, as you can see, instead of starting off at 0, 0, we actually started off at 0, 2. Right? We started off at 2. So then we start off at 2, and we go up to 3, down to 2, then down to 1, and then back up to 3 again. Okay? So that's the correct answer for number 1 there. Number 2, so this time it's the same thing. Our amp, again, is just 1, so it doesn't stretch up and down. The period just goes to 2 pi or 360. So 2 pi or 360 or 360 degrees. And then the midline is going to be -2. So now you do that same thing, but this time, you do the same thing that we did last time, but this time you're going to shift down 2, okay? Let's go and do a cosine now, cosine of x. And so cosine of x, so again, the amp is 1. The period, because it's just regular cosine, it's, remember the formula, 2 pi divided by b. In this case, our b is just 1, so 2 pi over 1 is just 2 pi, or 360. Same with this guy. Good. Midline. Now the midline here is a +3. Over here would be a -3. See how those work? So you should be able to fill those in easy on the test. Maybe the graphing part's a little bit trickier, but we'll get it. So now cosine 2, 3, 0, -1, -2, -3, -4. So cosine actually doesn't start off at 0, 0. Cosine starts at 1, right? Now 90 degrees, or pi over 2 radians. And then there's 180 degrees, or just pi. And then there's 270 degrees, or in other words, see here, so pi over 2. So 1 pi over 2, this would be considered 2 pi over 2. This would be considered, 270 degrees, or 3 pi over 2, right, 270 degrees. Or 4 pi over 2 is just 2 pi. Cool. So cosine, let's do it in light green here. So cosine actually starts off at 1, and then at pi over 2 is when it hits 0. Then it goes down -1 at pi, and then at 3 pi over 2, it goes back to 0, and then at 2 pi, it finishes off at 1 again. Okay? So that is our cosine. So then to do cosine of x plus 3, you're going to shift every single point up 3, right? So we go 1. And then at this point, we go 1, 2, 3. At this point, we go, whoa, what the? There we go. So then at this point down here at pi, so we're down here at the bottom, we would go 1, 2, so we'd go 1, 2, 3 right there, and then back there, and then up back at 4, so 2 pi, we'd hit at 4 there. Okay? So that means we would go down and up, and there we go. So there's our graph right there. We'll do it in red too, just to verify that that's definitely our right graph. Now we do stop at 2 pi, even though it does technically continue on, right? It continues on. So it does continue on. You'll see on your calculator it does continue on. If you wanted to check your answer for your calculator, or for example, if we do the next one, let's do -3, so it should shift down 3. So cosine of x minus 3, there we go. So I would go ahead and graph. It may or may not work. Maybe yours didn't work. Mine didn't work. Ew, look at that. So what you do is using your graphing calculator, we have y equals cosine of x minus 3. Go to Zoom. Zoom 7 is our friend. Zoom trig, because we are doing trigonometry with cosine and sine. So Zoom trig to check our answer. See how it's way down there now? Yeah, so it actually shifted down there. If you push the trace button, you can see it starts off at 0. So at 0, -2. So if this is -1, should we spread it out a little bit more this time? Let's try a different scaling system. So if this is 0, let's make this 1 this time, and let's make this -2. Oops, -1 and -2. So it starts, maybe we can't do it that way. We can't, Mr. Newbold. So yeah, so this is -1, -2, -3, -4. And so we're going to start off at -2. Then you can see in your graph, pushing the trace button, that it comes down. And these on your left, so these guys right here are angles. So at 60 degrees, we get -2.5. Isn't that cool? Yeah. So but let's go to 90 degrees, because that'd be better. So at 90 degrees, we get -3. At 90 degrees, we get -3. Okay, so here it is again. At 90 degrees, we get -3 for the y value. So we're going to go here 90 degrees. And then I'm 180. And then 270, and then 360. So at 90 degrees, we go down to -3, so that's right here. See how I'm using the calculator this time? And then 180, we hit the bottom, which is at, is it -4? Yep, 180 degrees, we hit -4, so right about there. Okay. And then keep on going, you guessed it. At 270, we'll head back to -3. So at 270 degrees, back to -3. And then back up to -2 at 360 degrees. So it goes down and then back up again. So there it is for cosine. There's cosine there to help you. Cosine. There we go. And then we'll just pause this for a second. Okay, so there's helping you there with number 3 and 4. All right, so now we get some of these harder ones, huh? So now we get some amplitudes, and we also, not only do we get some amplitudes, but we also get some midline changes as well as some period changes. What? So let's maybe try to look at number 9. That's a good idea. So take a look at number 9 now. Number 9. So number 9, you see period of, wait for it, of 2 pi, remember the formula, 2 pi divided by b, so in our b is 2, so 2 pi divided by 2, so the period they want you to go is just to pi. So one full cycle should fit between 0 and pi, right, from 0 to pi, okay, or what's that, 180 degrees, yeah. All right, excellent. So then what you're going to do with this one is you're going to pi, let's see, your sections in your graph like this, right? So it's like every 2. Nice. Okay? And then after you do that, put your period down. So we want to go as far as pi. So, so this is going to make it a little bit trickier, but that's okay. So all you do now, this whole distance is pi, good. Then half that distance, right, half that distance would just be like pi over 2, right? Yeah, half the distance is pi over 2. And then half of that, so what's smaller than a half? A fourth, right? Or you could go ahead and do like with a half there. And so yeah, that's how we get a fourth. So half of pi over 2 is pi over 4. And then, so that's 1 pi over 4. This would be 2 pi over 4. This would be 3 pi over 4. And that's how you get this part right here, is just adding by pi's over 4s. So again, start off with the period, which is the full pi. And so after you do the full pi, then you divide pi by 2. And then you divide that one by 2 again. And now we have our smallest unit, which is pi over 4. And then you could just make sure you did it correctly by counting by pi's over 4. So 1 pi over 4, 2 pi over 4, which is pi over 2, and then 3 pi over 4, and then 4 pi over 4, which is just pi. 4 pi over 4 is just pi. Cool, so that's how you start off by labeling your x-axis. Definitely vital. Definitely vital. Okay, excellent. So then our amp helps us to know how high or low we go, and then our midline affects that too, doesn't it? So to help you to graph these even easier, I'm going to show you a trick now. And so to do that trick, I need to erase all this stuff we've done so far. And so basically, regular sine starts off 0. And remember, back to 0, and then down to -1, and then back up to 0 again. So it goes 0, 1, 0, 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. So these are the 5 special numbers that you're going to do stuff with, okay, to help us graph this. So that was just regular sine that I just did. And regular sine helped me get the numbers. So the number for sine, memorize it. The numbers for sine, again, are 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. So now we use those numbers to find out how we graph this sucker with our 5 points. So we go 0, 1, 0, -1, 0. And so first we want to expand it by first doing the amp. So first do the amp, and then second, well actually technically we did the period first and graphed it, didn't we? So first we did the period, and then second place we're going to do the amp, and then third place we'll do the midline. So watch this video over again if you get stuck or confused. So we already did that, so that's done. Second now, we're actually going to multiply by the amp. Multiply by 4 is what we're going to do next. So we take all those values, 0, 1, 0, -1, 0, that comes from sine, and we're going to multiply by 4 all the way across, right? So 0 times 4 is 0. 1 times 4 is 4. 0 times 4 is 0. -1 times 4 is -4, and 0 times 4 is 0 again. Cool. So now we've expanded it. So we're going to go as high as 4 and down as far as -4, right? Down as far as -4. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and do our midline now. And so so that's done. So now to do our midline next, we want to put a check mark there. We're going to minus 2 on each one of these sine values. And we're going to go ahead and subtract now each one. So 0 minus 2 is just minus 2. 4 minus 2 is just 2. 0 minus 2 is negative 2. Negative 4 and negative 2 is a negative 6. And then 0 minus 2 is a minus 2. So now these are the points that you're going to giraffe. Yeah, what's that sound as a giraffe make? Na 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 na. No, that's a fox. Says, giraffe is like, yeah, that's the sound giraffe makes. So we're gonna graph it now. We're gonna go ahead and do a graph. And so we're gonna start off at our. So these again are our 5. So each one of these, right, corresponds with our 5 points here on the graph. Does that make sense? So each one of these is going to go in those locations there, right? Just like that. Oops, blue. Yeah. So what we're going to do now is go ahead and label your axes. We're going to have to go all the way to negative 6. So we're going to do 1, 2, cool, maybe even 3. And then we're going to go down. So let's see here. Not enough room on these graphs. Sorry about that. So that's 0. So that means that this is negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, and the bottom is negative 6. Yeah. You want to run down there and grab that slip and bring it back to me? They're supposed to like call it in. I can message them? Sure. Let me pause it. Okay, so where were we at there? We were graphing negative 2, 2, negative 2, negative 6, negative 2. So at 0, we're going to do negative 2, right? That's 2. And then at pi over 4, we're going to go down, or going to go up to pi over 2. There we go. And then at pi over 2, we're going to go back down to negative 2, so that's right here. And then at 3 pi over 4, which is the fourth point that we're going to graph, you're going to go all the way down to negative 6. And then at pi, we're going to go back up to negative 2. So definitely want. So all the way down and up and around. Try to curve them a little bit. And so then it will keep going on and on and on. But we're only asking you to do just the one period there. We're just asking you to go from 0 to pi. So that's how you do number 9. Whoo! Nice. So to help you there on one more, we'll do number 10 together. So there's number 9 to help you there. And then number 10, there we go. So number 10 is going to be cosine. So we do have an amp of 4. We have a midline shift upwards of plus 3. And then we do have a period of 2 pi as the formula divided by, so 2 pi, remember the formula, 2 pi over b. But in this case, our b is 2/3, right? 2/3. So we're going to put 2/3 there, so our b is actually 2/3. Okay? Then we are going to flip and multiply. So we're going to times by 3 over 2 times by 3 over 2. And so those 2's will cancel, and the 3's will cancel. So our period is just going to be 6 pi over 2. And 6 pi divided by 2 is just 3 pi. So our period is just going to be 3 pi. Just going to be 3 pi. Because 6 pi divided by 2 is 3 pi. So that means for our graph there, 3 pi is our period. We're going to go all the way to 3 pi. So go ahead and break it up into 4 sections. Always break it up into 4 sections. Put 3 pi down. Now this is a tricky one. That's why I'm doing number 10 with you. So remember the steps we do to try to make, so we're working on the period first, remember? So that's number 1, work on the period. So we're going to take 3 pi. We already wrote it down. It's in the 4th place, right? 1, 2, 3, the 4th section. So 3 pi divided, we want to divide that in half. So 3 pi, so if this is 3 pi, Then half of 3 pi would be right there. Would just be 3 pi over 2. Cool. And then, there we go. We'll try to use a thinner pen, see if that helps us. So 3 pi over 2. And then half of 3 pi over 2 now, half of that is 3 pi over 4. So we're going by 3 pi's over 4. Does that sound crazy? So 3 pi over 4, and then 3 plus 3 is 6 pi over 4, plus 3 is 9 pi over 4. And then the next one is 9, 10, 11, 12 pi over 4. And so 12 divided by 4 is just 3 pi. So that's correct. Good. So now we've got the period done and labeled. Bam. So next, we're going to go ahead and we're going to use cosine this time. And cosine magical numbers. So cosine usually starts off with 1, and then it goes to 1, then it goes to 0, then it goes down to -1, then back up to 0, then back up to +1. So the 5 numbers for cosine are magical numbers. So start off at 1, then it crosses the x-axis at 0, and then at halfway from, so cosine is from 0 to 2 pi, isn't it? And so there we go. So at 0, it's 1, then it goes down to 0, then it goes down to -1, then back up to 0, then back up to 1. So 1, 0, -1, 0, 1. So memorize 1, 0, -1, 0, 1 for every time you're going to graph cosine. And I think on the test, you probably only have to graph it once, so that's nice, but memorize it. So now we're going to go ahead and do the amp next, second place. So we're going to times by 4 to all of these. Times by 4 to all of these. So now we're going to get 4, 0, -1 times 4 is -4, 0, +4. Okay, so now the amp's done. Then third place, we're going to do midline. We're going to add 3 to every single one of these. So we're going to go ahead and add 3, so +3. Oh my goodness, this is going to be stretching out. That's okay, we got this. Okay, so then we're going to go ahead and make that 7, and 3 plus 0 is just 3. 3 with the -4 is -1, and then back to 3, and then up to 7. So those are your 5 numbers that you're going to graph, starting with 0, remember, and then 3 pi over 4 would be next, right? So if we were doing coordinates, for example, you would say, if we were doing coordinates, for example, you would like say, 0, 7. And then the next one would be 3 pi over 4, 3. So basically, you're just going through those 5 coordinates and graphing 7, 3, -1, 3, 7. Okay? So go ahead and number those. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, it's going to go really high. Sorry. 6, 7's way up there. So we are going to start way up there. So we'll put a dot up 7. Then at 3 pi over 4, we're going to go up to 3. And then at 3 pi over 2, which is the the third number there, we're going to go down as far as -1. So we're going to go all the way down to here. And then we're going to go back up to 3, 9 pi over 4. You're going to go up to 3. And then over to back up to 7. So 3 pi, where we finish at, we're going to go all the way back up to 7. So there it is, down. Whew. And then lower, down to -1, and then back up again. Woo! So there's number 10 to help you. Thanks for watching, and look at my practice test videos for more examples of these, and those will help you get ready for the test coming up next. So get this assignment done, then start busting out the practice test. We'll go over that in class, and then you'll take the test after that. Thanks for watching. Woo! Yeah. There is sunshine in my soul. All right.